What's up, guys? It's King Andrew. I'm here. I'm back. You might have been wondering, was this going to happen? Match is supposed to start at 8:30, and it's already 8:39. At least, of course, I'm talking Pacific time. But yeah, I'm King Andrew. I'll tell you a little something about that's going on in the match. We are going to have a Div C West match between Team Rainbow Strike Go and the Dunning-Kruger Knights. So the match was running a little bit behind because TRSG was in a Storm League. The Storm League, they thought they had plenty of time. The Storm League game actually ended up taking 40 minutes. So they were really cutting it close. Probably thought like, oh, like, we've got plenty of time. But they were in a 40-minute Storm League game. And then our other team, Dunning-Kruger Knights, is a team that is new, relatively new, so to speak, to NGS. They, I was actually just in the coin flip lobby where I was talking to the captains, and the captain of Dunning-Kruger Knights said that they played in NGS, but like a very long time ago. They said literally back in like Chair League days, so that's like before my time. That's before I knew NGS existed super long ago. And all of the accounts for the players on the NGS website say 0 season, 0 games. So again, they said that they've played a long time ago. Either way, they could be rusty, and based on that, probably going to end up favoring TRSG a little bit here. So let's actually take a look at our teams while the lobby is also coming up. These are our teams for tonight. Team Rainbow Strike Go, pretty established team in NGS at this time. In fact, they've been around for, I want to say, at least 4 years at this point. I actually remember playing TRSG for the first time in 2019. That was the first time I played against them. So they've been around that long, but their roster has changed a lot. Some of the players that I played against back in that time several years ago are not here anymore. And they've also got a very big roster, 9 people, the maximum. While our opponent, the Dunning-Kruger Knights, are, to be completely honest, to me, they are completely new faces. Not that I can even see their faces, but I just don't know anyone on this team. So they're very much a wild card. And, you know, on the one hand, it could be they haven't competed in a really long time, so they may be a little bit of a disadvantage here compared to the players on TRSG who have all been competing pretty regularly in NGS. I say all, I would at the very least say most of them. If we take a look at the roster, and you're also kind of familiar with NGS lore, it also looks like they've absorbed parts of Bloodbath and Beyond into their team, so kind of married under the TRSG banner. But there's a decent chance we have our game soon, because we're already in the lobby. Of course, we're already a little bit behind schedule. We'll also quickly take a look at the map screen. So, as we can see from our maps, TRSG banned out Dragonshire and Sky Temple, while the Dunning-Kruger Knights banned out Volskaya Foundry and Garden of Terror. That means that TRSG chose to go to Tomb of the Spider Queen for the first map in this series. So, interesting name, Dunning-Kruger Knights, that is. I believe what that is, there is something in, I believe, psychology called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And I believe the idea of that is something to the effect of when you're not good at something and you think you're better at it and you don't understand kind of what you need to do to actually get good at something. And that's definitely not a super good paraphrasing of it. I'm doing it the best that I can from my memory. I think it's generally used for the idea, I think colloquially it's used for this idea of someone basically not being as good at something as they think they are. So maybe a bit of an ironic name for the team, maybe just a little bit of self-deprecating humor on their part. Team Rainbow Strike Go, I don't know if that has... I've seen that name for a while now. It's kind of just a bunch of words that sound good together. There's a lot of energy behind it. Makes it sound fun. The exclamation point makes them seem like an exciting team. We'll see if they're indeed going to be that exciting. So, I'm back. It's me, King Andrew. I am an NGS caster. I'm also a Heroes of the Storm player. I am a caster. I've already said that. I'm a voice actor, I'm a former school teacher, I wear many hats, and tonight we're going to get into this draft, game number 1 between Team Rainbow Strike Go and the Dunning-Kruger Knights. Hope we got some people back here. Alright, draft number 1, for game number 1. and it's going to be the Dunning-Kruger Knights with the first ban. Now, since, you know, the Dunning-Kruger Knights, the truth is that I know nothing about them. I know nothing about them, and I'm only making assumptions based on them being relatively new to NGS or coming to NGS for the first time in a very long time. So it definitely makes me wonder what they're going to do in terms of bans. Have they researched their opponents? Because there's definitely data on Team Rainbow Strike Go. There is no data whatsoever on Dunning-Kruger Knights, or at least none that is easily accessible. Not as a team, probably some of the individual players just going by Hero's profile. Opening bans are going to be Nazebo and Stukov. These are things where, like, at a higher level, I would not expect either one of these as bans, but Nazebo is pretty good. Like, I think this is Nazebo's best map. It's a map that typically goes late because the objective is pretty weak. It facilitates Nazebo rotating and getting Viral Infection stacked. So I would still say he's not a super ban-worthy hero. Meanwhile, Stukov, I said this in my earlier cast, where I believe he is the 5th best healer in the game, but he's, in terms of like how toxic and annoying he is #1 because Lurking Arm is just so busted. Meanwhile, Johanna's going to be banned out, and Brightwing. So a slight healer choke. Brightwing is someone who I believe is in the top 4 of healers compared to the, you know, I said Stukov I felt was the 5th best healer. Yep, I do believe Brightwing is better than Stukov overall, and her own silence is also something that can be pretty toxic and annoying. Meanwhile, the Johanna banned out, very common, especially in lower divisions. She is, I'm not sure if she's the best tank, but she's certainly very forgiving and easily usable by players at just about all skill levels. Meanwhile, we're going to have the Vala picked up. The Vala pickup is something that I'm a little conflicted about. It certainly is a strong hero, and if you do want to pick it, there is concern that your opponent might pick it. But at the same time, I do feel first pick Vala can sometimes be a little bit punished. Meanwhile, we're going to see the Rhaegar Junkrat out of Team Rainbow Strike Go. I really like this 1-2 pickup. It's very much a try-hard 1-2 because we've got two healers already banned, so we picked up one of the best healers that's remaining to make sure that doesn't fall by the wayside. And Junkrat, I've already talked about toxic heroes. When I was talking about Stukov, I was really just talking about within the healer role, but Junkrat is definitely up in contention there for just toxic heroes, period, between those traps. Okay, now this seems like a little bit of a blast from the past, going with the Auriel. Auriel is a good battery. Just kidding, other way around, Vala is a good battery for Auriel, but this is definitely something you don't see that often these days. Auriel not being super consistent because she is reliant on another hero to make sure that she has energy or hope for her healing output. When played well, though, and when enabled, she is capable of huge sustained healing numbers. And the Hogger is just a great pick. Hogger, a great pick on any map. Offlane has actually been untouched in this draft up until that Hogger pick, so that both means none of the best offlaners have been banned. One of them's been picked. I wouldn't mind seeing one of the best offlaners banned here. Typically, the best offlaners aside from Hogger, in my opinion, I would say are Dahaka and Blaze, but I don't hate the Diablo ban. We're going to see the Garrosh picked up by Wraithling. Wraithling, one of the players who is relatively new to TRSG, and I believe he's one of the players imported from Bloodbath and Beyond, along with Punk, who's going to pick up the Chromie. Chromie Junkrat is a little bit of an awkward DPS combo. It's very sustained. There is a lack of consistency in terms of, well, not really having a genuine auto attacker, and Junkrat's auto attacks are kind of okay. Chromie also has an auto attack talent at 5 that is decent. It's not always taken. It may be appropriate here. And we're going to see what kind of tank we have out of the Dunning-Kruger Knights. It's going to be the Anubrak, one of the best tanks remaining. And Artanis picked up, the leader of all Protoss. Artanis is... I've got opinions about Artanis. And I'm a little concerned here, particularly of running Artanis into Garrosh when Artanis does actually join the team fights, if he does end up just getting thrown in and isolated. And although the damage from TRSG is a little bit more on the slow, sustained kind, Chromie is still capable of some burst. And it's going to be the Gazlo picked up by Captain Roberts. Oh, and that's double Bruiser out of Dunning-Kruger Knights. I'm just noticing this now, which in a way I kind of like that. triple, double bruiser, triple frontline really as a way of also protecting the Vala and the Oriole. I kind of like it actually. So we're going to be heading into game 1. I am actually feeling a slight preference for the draft of the Dunning-Kruger Knights. Now, of course, we're going to see how well this works out in practice. I know that TRSG has been playing, they've been scrimming, I've been playing Nexomania. I'm not sure if the Dunning-Kruger Knights have really had access to that as much, so I like their draft, but I'm wondering, how practiced they are in a competitive setting. This could be their first real competitive match in literal years. Again, if according to what they said about them having played in Chair League long ago. But anyway, we are going to have game number 1 on Tomb of the Spider Queen between Team Rainbow Strike Go and the Dunning-Kruger Knights. Team Rainbow Strike Go here has got Wraithling on the Garrosh. Robert will be on the Junkrat. Chopper is going to be playing the Rhaegar. Punk is on the Chromie. Captain Roberts, AFK in the core on the Gazlo. Their opponents, the Dunning-Kruger Knights. Apple Leader is going to be on the Anubrak. Ampere will be playing Artanis. Schweik is going to be playing the Vala. Hotaru on the Oriole. Did I forget anybody? Ralph Stew, the captain of the team, is going to be playing Hogger. So let's take a look. We've actually got a Q-build Vala, which is slightly surprising. Q-build Vala does certainly have a lot of pop-off potential, a lot of burst damage potential. It is something that I find a little bit difficult to use on this map, because a lot of fights tend to take place in the lane with the waves, where it can sometimes be hard to make sure that you actually connect the Q on a hero. There are also some fights that take place on the turn-in areas where the Q is a little bit more reliable. Typically think of this map as being more of a W or an AA map, but Vala's good. You can play any build on her you want, really. Hotaru's all by him or herself. Yeah, Vala and Oriole are pretty much two heroes that I never want to see separated for the entire game unless one of them dies, because I think they are really that dependent on each other. Certainly the Oriole being that dependent on the Vala, and the Vala actually being almost as dependent on the Oriole. Anyway, so we have the Artanis in the 4-man, which actually is not necessarily surprising at all, because realistically Hogger is the better laner. But he's also just, like, kind of better than Artanis on many different metrics. Meanwhile, this Hogger here, look in practice. We got someone who's up to date on modern heroes and getting this camp, but might need a little bit of help. Because okay, no. Captain Roberts actually deciding not to contest that, not take that fight. Does look like both teams started to move down a little bit. Possibly in anticipation of helping their opponents, or helping their teammates. Only one stack on the puncturing arrow so far. It hasn't been that long, but I think I would expect to see more like 3 or 4 by now. Soon, though, we are going to see the repeating arrow on that Vala, which will help facilitate that stacking. And some other things I'm seeing that I didn't point out. We do have the W-build Chromie. W-build Chromie usually indicates that it's pretty likely that we're going to see temporal loop. Typically, I think if you're going W-build Chromie, it's a little bit more common to go temporal loop. That being said, this is also a pretty weak game for temporal loop, given the heroes that are on the other team. A lot of the heroes on that other team have unstops, and then we're going to have Oriole, who at level 10 will have Crystal Aegis, who can cancel out a temporal loop on any hero, including herself. Hogger, meanwhile, really taking advantage of those camps. So Ralph Stew's the captain. He's playing this modern hero. Looks like he's... I think I might be reading into this thing a little too much about these players, not having played in NGS for a really long time, as if he hasn't actually played the game in literal years. But I really don't know, and I need to stop making assumptions, just like the way this game has stopped. That was not good. Anyway, we'll head over to this. What's up? It's King Andrew. We have someone who needs to reset their Wi-Fi. I'm laughing about this because I feel like the ideal idea is to have wired internet if you are going to be doing online gaming, especially competitive online gaming. But trying not to judge here. I'm just thinking about what's optimal. So not too much has happened in this game so far. It's just a lot of rotations. Not even really that much interaction between teams. Punk at the moment has left. Hopefully he will be returning to the game shortly. And how we guys doing tonight? All right. So, haven't been able to see so far, you know, how this match is going to turn out. We are exactly 3 minutes into the game on the dot. 3 minutes into the game on the 3-0-0. One of the original concerns I did have going into the draft was going to be wave clear opening up with a Bala, but I think they've kind of solved the wave clear issue, having Hogger, who can, obviously as a solo laners need good wave clear. The Oriel is actually a healer who provides, I would say, better than average wave clear for a healer. Might be overrating how much that sweep actually does, but I think it's still better than many healers. Probably not better than Rhaegar. But we'll see. Anyway, guys, how's Baldur's Gate 3? I haven't played it yet. It does look like a fantastic game, but you know, I don't like buying games at full price. Why buy a game for $60 when you can wait 3 years and pay $30? I feel like my logic is completely unassailable. And this is just what I'm choosing to talk about while we wait for this guy to reset his router. Oh my god. Tell you some other things we got going on. I talked about the Bala stack. Someone else who is stacking in this game is Artanis. Artanis going with the Protector of Ire. So that also makes it. That also does make a little bit more sense for Artanis to be in the 4-man. He's only got 8 stacks so far, so he's definitely got a ways to go on those Artanis stacks. And it's Season 1 of NGS. I don't even know what I'm saying. It's not Season 1 of it. It's Season 16 of NGS. Season 16 of NGS, but it's Week 1 of Season 16 of NGS. Jesus Christ, I don't have shit to talk about. I don't. But if you missed it, here are our teams. Team Rainbow Strike Go and the Dunning-Kruger Knights. Luckily, we might be just about back into the draft. Alright, we've got our players ready. Haven't unpaused yet, but they've called it, so I'm going to be going back in-game because it's been too long. Alright, they're counting down, and they're back! About time. Going back to what I said about that Chromie, I have a feeling we'll just see the Slowing Sands, just because I think going loop is really difficult here into the Oriel. But we'll see. Sometimes people do pick temporal loop even into clear counters to it. It does also have that secondary rewind effect, so you do just get the extra spells, even if you are in a situation where the loop itself, the displacement effect of the loop doesn't get its value. Alright, big Junkrat boop, displacing a couple people. Wraithling starting to get a little bit low. Raustu gets in there. Can Wraithling get out alive? He also gets pulled, and then he gets time stopped. His hands are just off the keyboard. He can't play the game, but he can make it out of there alive. But the Team Rainbow Strike Go still needs a little bit more clear on this Bruiser Camp, and finally they are going to take it out. Alright. Meanwhile, we actually have, if anything, the Dunning-Kruger Knights slightly ahead. They have enough to turn. At this time, TRSG does too, although they didn't have it at the time that I started that sentence. Apple Eater's looking to turn in. I wonder if he could have just finished that turn in there. Instead, he burrow charges onto Wraithling, potentially dangerous, especially if Wraithling has throw up. Chopper's now going to be looking for a throw in. Time Stop is going to catch Apple Eater. We're going to see Garrosh throw him in. Apple Eater, where is the burrow charge? Finally, it does come back. I wonder if it was on cooldown for much of that time. Gets a heal. Does also get the hardened carapace. Still nobody dying, but Red Weavers are descending in favor of the red team. Alright. Level 7 talent tier is also being picked up. A lot of things looking... Don't see anything that's too out of the ordinary yet. We are going to see the trap build Junkrat. Wonder what he'll go at 13, the double trap or the trap that does not get activated by anything except heroes. Probably the double trap. That's what I expect to see more frequently. And it is going to be a temporal loop Chromie. So there is a window for this temporal loop to get some value if it's used now before Ariel gets to level 10. So I actually want to see that temporal loop used as much as possible at the moment, possibly off cooldown. Possibly right there in that fight where it wasn't used. So web weavers are cleared. Front walls are kind of damaged here for Team Rainbow Strike. It looks like there's also some fight that I'm entirely missing, and finally I do manage to catch Ampere going down. That is a little bit, oh no, I think Ralph's in trouble. I do not think he has Hog Wild. He's trying to get out of there, and he steps right into the final barrage of Chromie's W, and he does go down. That's looking pretty good for TRSG. That will allow them to get this turn in, their first turn in of this game, pretty easily. Their first turn in, that is, not the first turn in of the game. There it is. And so again, we have a much smaller window now for Punk to use this temporal loop while it's still less countered than it could be when the Dunning-Kruger Knights hit level 10. So I want to see that used literally within like the next couple seconds. If anything, I kind of want them to just go top. I guess they're just prioritizing push, because I think that window of opportunity is about to run out before Ariel gets Crystal Aegis. So, top web weaver is just going to be cleared out easily, but TRSG just pushing mid. They're going to abandon it. I guess they're just looking to trying to respond to them possibly getting collapsed on, but I feel they probably could have gotten a lot more. Hutaru's going to get thrown in. There's the Crystal Aegis. And the temporal loop used after the Crystal Aegis, which does make perfect sense. Oh no, Apple Eater, I don't think it's out of here alive. 23 gems dropped. Ampere can't go in. Oh my god, because Artanis cannot get out here. It's going to be another 7 gems dropped by the Dunning-Kruger Knights. So now it is 5 kills to 0 in favor of TRSG, and they're still pushing mid. And of course, with many things, obviously, if you have a cooldown that can be countered by a cooldown, the idea is to try to force out that cooldown. So in this case, the Crystal Aegis was forced out because Hutaru was thrown in by Garrosh and needed to use Crystal Aegis to survive, but it left open that opportunity to use Temporal Loop. So that's kind of the condition that needs to be met for Temporal Loop to get value. And Dunning-Kruger Knights really just need to look to try to make sure that Crystal Aegis is not forced by anything other than Temporal Loop. Alright, oh, back-to-back Web Weaver turn-ins, but one of those lanes will be kind of countered by the Bruiser Camp out of Dunning-Kruger Knights. TRSG possibly looking to push top. Of course, top, desirable lane on Tomb of the Spider Queen, since you've got that boss that can push in that lane. That is Temporal Loop. Oh no! Okay, Temporal Loop is used eventually, a little late. Doesn't really end up mattering that much in the end. Oriel doesn't go down, even regardless, but it doesn't look like, oh no! App Leader not able to get out of there, and Ampere will not be able... I don't know if oh no! Almost looked like Ampere did get out of there, and somehow it's actually Gazlo who goes down. What the hell happened? I didn't even see. Ralph Stu, meanwhile, just going to be working on clearing up the lanes. TRSG still pushing top, just hitting those barrages with that Chromie W. That Dragon's Breath. And soon we're probably just going to be resetting to neutral. 13 talent here, almost picked up by the Dunning-Kruger Knights. And all things considered, it certainly is PRSG in the lead and looking a little bit stronger right now, but by no means are we in an unwinnable situation for the Dunning-Kruger Knights. Neither team has gems to turn in. Anubrak checking the boss. Did not find TRSG there because they are bottom, picking up the camp. And this does mean that TRSG is about to have 2 camps pushing to none for the Dunning-Kruger Knights. Hogger going to respond bot, but he is all by himself. and does want to be careful about pushing in against 3. We are going to see the rotation by pretty much all of Dunning-Kruger Knights. Literally all, and again, I don't like to see this Vala separated here away from the Vala. Those 2 heroes are basically married to each other, unless they die. TRSG just kind of posturing, possibly looking for something. It is going to be up to Dunning-Kruger Knights to defend here. Ralph Stew potentially getting caught. Can he get Hog Wild out of there? Gets an angle, not the greatest angle. Oh no, that angle might not be enough for him, so Apple Eater has to go in there to help him, and luckily that help from Apple Eater is enough. Ults are... Ooh, that's actually a fairly good trade in favor of Dunning-Kruger Knights because they're survived with fewer ults going out. Dunning-Kruger Knights also getting closer to... They actually now have turn-in, so probably going to want to look to see if they can turn before TRSG is at level 16. Uh-oh, Oriel is not here for the temporal loop, for the Crystal Aegis. So that is going to be Artanis going down. And Artanis, I feel, is a hero who is going to struggle into the Garrosh in the foreman, and just one of the most important interactions that's going to happen in this game right now is the interaction between Temporal Loop and Crystal Aegis. I've already talked about this. I would even say at this point that Temporal Loop has gotten more value than it really should in this game. The ideal circumstance is that Crystal Aegis is held specifically for Temporal Loop and just cancels out Temporal Loop anytime that it happens. Uh-oh. Alright, Hogger's trying to get out of there. Gets a decent angle, but that's going to be 2 heroes dead. And now Ampere's going in, and again, Ampere is the hero who... Ampere on that Artanis just... It's so hard for Artanis to get out once he's in. Unfortunately for Artanis, so many of these fights are just resulting in a non-Artanis hero killed before Artanis himself really gets to do much. And once he's in, it's just difficult for him to get out, even though he did get out in this situation. Anyway, boss is going to be picked up by TRSG. Just burned down super quickly with all 5 heroes present. Just kidding, 4 heroes present. Literally can't do math. What a good caster. While Captain Roberts is looking to turn, probably could have optimized that play a little bit more to get the turn earlier. Probably could have had like 3 people on that boss. I don't know. Basically, the boss is going a little bit ahead. I think the ideal is having the Web Weavers and the boss. Oh no, Ampere! Where's the Crystal? Okay, the Crystal Aegis is there, but it's still so far up that he might still be in trouble. Where's the heal? The heal comes out, but it's just not enough. And Artanis is going to go down too, and it's kind of a clinic now for TRSG. 10 kills to 1. Boss pushing on the top keep. Only 4 heroes left. 16 talent tier advantage in favor of TRSG. At this point, I think the Dunning-Kruger Knights just kind of have to move back, get healed up, and defend at... Well, they want to put as much damage on the boss as possible. This is rough. Artanis is going to be back up soon. I think they even got to ignore the lanes, ignore the other lanes, and just focus on the Web Weaver and the boss. Now they actually need to ignore the boss and the Web Weaver. Now they need to see if they can get any defense on the mid keep, or any keep. Are they going to be left with any other keeps before this push is over from TRSG? So the mid keep is gone, only 1 keep is left, and the Web Weavers are there. Gravel Bomb goes out, does manage to hit Hotaru on that Ariel, but doesn't result in a kill. Where's the Crystal Aegis? Crystal Aegis actually not needed. Shockwave gonna come out. That might be a kill on Wraithwing. Some decent layered CC. Very good. That should be a kill. Dunning-Kruger Knights showing some signs of life at the end of this game, but you know what's not showing signs of life? What's starting to show some signs of death is this core taking damage from this catapult down to 80%. 78. And we do see that Ralph Stew is moving back up. Try to address that. Gonna need to address that because these 2 waves probably would have ended the game. This is just massive, massive pressure against them. It's anytime they've got 2 lanes that have no structures against 2 lanes that have 2 structures, which is just absolutely back-breaking pressure. Silver lining for Dunning-Kruger Knights is that they are about to have a turn. So we'll see what they can do with that. Oh, but the person who needs to turn is Hogger. He's literally got all of their gems, so he's not up there helping to turn. And that means that they might not have an opportunity to turn while they still have the advantage of being up a player. So Hogger is trying to turn in now, but it's super hard to turn in against the Junkrat. Yeah, I mean, this is tough. Like, at this point, they've basically just got to defend lanes. And I think their best chance for a turn at this point is to just 5-man on a point, and they'll probably just have to go for a team fight. And even if they go for a team fight, it can't be a long, drawn-out team fight. It needs to be a fast one. And they're only 2 gems short. Oh, and they don't even have 20. They somehow get it. Unfortunately, we have Punk disconnecting again. Oh my god. Yeah, hopefully this time he just connects the wire. So, don't know how many of you guys are here, but earlier on, Punk did disconnect, said he needed to reset the Wi-Fi, which just that by itself, I was like, I mean, you know what? Maybe I should be a little bit more understanding, you know, of course, we deal with what we got to deal with. Just me. Might be what his internet is, and that's just what his internet situation is right now. Of course, it's ideal to game on a wired connection, but people deal with what they got to deal with. Anyway, it does look like he's back in the game. We'll be starting again anytime now. Here we go. All right, so red Webweaver turn in for the Dunning-Kruger Knights. But man, they're still down 20. One of those lanes possibly just going to be completely negated by this push. And they're already engaged in a fight here. Roustu is already thrown in. Oriel's not there for the temporal loop. Just kidding, I keep on mixing up. Oriel's not there for the Crystal Aegis. And now it's just straight up 5v4 in favor of TRSG. Now 5v3. I mean, at this point, we might just be looking at the game being over. Yeah, TRSG just pushing for the core at this point. Just looking to put damage on it. We are going to see Gazlo is going to be kept inside the cocoon, but Vala is going to go down. And with that, I think also Dunning-Kruger Knight's chances of coming back into this game. I think there is no defense without Vala, and certainly no defense if you've only got one hero up who only has 30% hit points. So, game number 1 going to go in favor of TRSG. And that's going to be it. Are we going to peer pressure you into buying full-price games during this intermission? That's a good one. I really like that as a burn after I'm, you know, saying something about, basically, ideally you want to have a wired connection. So I think that's a good burn. I like that. I like that. Because I'm so cheap that I will literally wait years to buy a game instead of paying full price for it. In my defense, I have amassed a library of over 700 Steam games and about 100 games on other platforms by doing things like Humble Bundle, Steam sales, Indie Gala, all those things. And I've spent so little money on so many games. So many games that I will probably never even have time to play them all, but I've spent so little money on my gaming habit. So, but I am missing out on the fun of Baldur's Gate 3, which I'm sure is sick. Like, the game does look awesome. I do want to play it, but I've also got, like, multiple games that I'm still in the middle of playing. But anyway, let's talk about HOTS. Let's talk about HOTS. Dominant showing from TRSG. In the end, it's not too surprising. It does seem like Dunning-Kruger Knights as a team are coming into this at a little bit of a disadvantage without having as much experience and not having played competitively in a really long time. And you know, it's tough to what to think for what they could do to try to make the second game more competitive, see if they can come back into it. I'm gonna throw out the idea of maybe go to Battlefield of Eternity, just for a map that is less macro dependent, and just try to focus on the team fight. The key interaction there that I kept on mentioning that was super important was the interaction between Temporal Loop and Crystal Aegis. Ideally, I actually feel like that was a bad game for Temporal Loop, but the Temporal Loop ended up getting a huge amount of value because a lot of times there was just a disconnect between the players, where often the player who was getting looped was just not in range of the Ariel. A little bit on both players, and I feel that was one of the most important interactions that happened in that game. Possibly one of them. I don't think that by itself turns that whole game around, but it certainly makes it much, much closer than it was. So, up to Dunning-Kruger Knights at this point to decide if they want map pick or first pick. We're going to see what happens. We're going to take a look at the map screen to see as things come up. And going to take a look at what Artemis is saying. Honestly, I buy most video games on Black Fridays. Play them for 2 weeks. We're playing more SC2 and HOTS. And of course, HOTS, free-to-play game. I personally have only paid $15 HOTS in my lifetime, and it was on the Muradin skin back at a time when you could not buy it any other way. So that was like 2016 or something, before HOTS 2.0. But anyway, enough about me. We do have our second map of the series, and guess what? It's gonna be Battlefield of Eternity. So maybe they end up having the same thought process. I don't even know if they picked the map. We'll even find out. Alright, they're not telling me. They're keeping me in the dark. Alright, finally I got it. Dunning-Kruger Knights did indeed pick Battlefield of Eternity. So, and I'm not even 100% sure if this is the best idea. I had my own thought process of it, which is it's not a macro map. Just focus on the team fight, draft something that's good for team fight. Just kind of fewer things to consider, fewer things to juggle. I could also be wrong about that, maybe from a higher level perspective, because there is some extent where macro does matter on Battlefield of Eternity. One of the important things is how you manage the control of the bottom camp. If you get a kill early on in the game, that kind of clears the way for you to get the bottom camp, or you can send someone top, create a 2v1 top, and get the top camp for free, see if the enemy team realize it fast enough so that they can just get the bottom camp while your other player is top. But maybe they had the same thought process. We're waiting on players at the moment. We don't have everyone for whatever reason. Oh, unfortunately I do know the reason. And the reason why is that Punk is not here. So Punk, still struggling with their internet. Not going to shame them anymore for it. I need to be nicer. Just stating it as a fact at the moment. Punk is not here, and until then, we can't proceed. For some reason, my score is not displaying, and I don't know why. We'll sync the score, and we'll see if that helps it display. And there it goes. All right, 1-0 in favor of Team Rainbow Strike Go. While we're waiting... Oh, Punk is here, so maybe we will be starting soon, although I'll talk about other things. Oh no, we're ready. We're going to the draft soon. No time for Baldur's Gate right now. I think. I'll let them know I'm ready, just in case they need to hear it. The message did not seem to go through. Maybe I'm lagging now, which would be very unfortunate. But either way, the draft is starting. And we are going to switch on over. It probably just didn't go through because the draft was in the middle of loading. And here it is. Alright, so we do already know that Dunning-Kruger Knights play Vala, so that is something that they could prioritize here. It's also something that could be banned by TRSG. Again, TRSG probably lacking information about Dunning-Kruger Knights, but at the moment they are. seeming like the stronger team, so they may not need the information that much at this point. If they kind of just stick to their strengths, that may be enough to pull them through this series. Do want to see Dunning-Kruger Knights just give it their all, do their best to make this competitive, possibly take a game. I think at this point they should probably just try their best to play to the strengths of their players and just work on developing the team as the season goes on. Gonna ban out the Garrosh. Apparently didn't like that. And Garrosh is a hero that, he's very counterable. He is a hero who I do think is situational, but he's also a hero that if you don't respect him and if you don't play into him correctly, you do just start dropping heroes. You do just start having heroes dying, and it can also just be really frustrating. Artanis in particular is, I think, a hero who probably struggles into Garrosh unless you play it really well. And it would also make sense because Artanis, this is a better map for Artanis. I'm a big Artanis hater, I'll let that be known, but this is a map that is a little bit stronger for him because he does do pretty good damage on the Immortal. So I would not be surprised to see Dunning-Kruger Knights pick it, given that they already picked it on Tomb of the Spider Queen, a map where, in my opinion, Artanis is certainly not as good as Battlefield of Eternity, and I would say probably just not that good on in general. So we're going to see the bans come out. I think the only thing that's different is the Garrosh ban. I don't remember what Dunning-Kruger Knights banned in the first one. Robert is going to steal away the Vala with that first pick. So, I wonder what kind of race... So that already means that TRSG is building for race, and it's only one race hero. They could, of course, get another one, but they already have one hero who's very, very strong in race, so they're already opening up with kind of an advantage in the race, and we're going to see what the Dunning-Kruger Knights are going to do to respond to that. Okay, so we have another really strong race here on the Greymane, another one who is kind of top in terms of race, and the Diablo. So I kind of like this one too, out of the Dunning-Kruger Knights. I also think Diablo Greymane is a hero pairing that has the potential to do well into Vala. If Diablo is able to ever get a wallbang on Vala, Greymane is able to go in with him, and that's a lot of kill pressure on the Vala. The Artanis actually going to be picked up by TRSG. So I was just talking about, of course, it's something that people do on this map. I'm not a fan of it. I'll say again, I'm a big Artanis hater. I hope Hoku's around there. She's probably not, but I hope she is. She's here in spirit at the very least. Artanis is, with amateur opponent, does do probably the most DPS of any bruiser against the Immortal, which is valuable on this map, and because he does so much damage from the bruiser position, it makes it extremely likely that your whole draft is going to have better race than your opponent's draft, because they aren't going to have something that does as much damage from the bruiser position. However, they are probably likely to have a better bruiser, because Artanis sucks. Anyway, ETC banned out. I'm really surprised to see that. I don't know if that's just something that Wraithling likes. We also have the tank pool getting a little thin, with 3 tanks banned out, and Diablo picked up on the side of Dunning-Kruger Knights. This is kind of leaving Wraithling down with something like a new Barak. That's probably the best tank that's remaining. At least that's the best one that I can remember. But we're going to see what's going to be picked up for the Dunning-Kruger Knights at this time. Deckard and Li Ming. So, Greymane Li Ming, that's a classic. I love Greymane Li Ming. Not viable on every map. This is certainly a map where it is viable. Anub'arak picked up pretty predictably, I think, kind of after, given everything that's banned, everything that's not available, and I think Anub'arak is pretty clearly the best tank that's left, unless they really had something else in mind. But it just makes sense. And the Chromie, going to be picked up again for Punk. That's actually kind of scary for me, because the Chromie... Yeah, you're right about... I was about to say you're right about Samuro. Well, wait a minute, he's not a bruiser. Anyway, the Chromie picked up... I like the Chromie pick here, even though it's not as strong of a racing hero compared to, I think, the Li Ming. I could also be straight up wrong about that. I haven't actually checked the numbers. What? Okay. Okay. Anyway, the Chromie, I think, is going to get a huge amount of value here, because it already got a huge amount of value last map when it was countered a lot better than it is now. The Deckard really doesn't counter... certainly doesn't counter the loop as well. You do have other ways of interacting with it, where you might just go for, oh, Chromie's going to loop? Well, I'm just going to go for stay a while and listen on the enemy team, certainly on the Chromie, to counter that. So there isn't nothing, but I don't think it's as strong of a counter as the Crystal Aegis was last game. So, you know, I do want to see Dunning-Kruger Knights do the best job that they can. Their draft is a little awkward going for the triple deeps. Triple deeps is, I think, a huge risk. It's a huge risk. It's something that I think is generally not very strong, but we're going to see if it pulls off, because it would be nice to see a game 3 here. And, you know, we want to give them a chance. They have certainly gotten a draft that has a huge amount of Immortal Race. Their Immortal Race, actually, yeah, Dunning-Kruger Knights do have the better Immortal Race. I'm just not sure if they'll be able to handle team fights as well. We'll find out. I could be wrong. Anyway, TRSG up in this game 1. TRSG up in this game 1 against the Dunning-Kruger Knights on Battlefield of Eternity. Wraithling is going to be on the Anubrak. Robert is going to be on Vala. Punk is on the Chromie yet again. Chopper on the Anduin. And Captain Roberts on the Artanis. Meanwhile, their opponents, the Dunning-Kruger Knights, trying to come back into this series. We were about Schweik. It's like kind of say it in a German way. I wonder what it almost looks like it could be German. And you know what? It's a lot more fun to say Schweik than Schweik. Schweik on the Li Ming. Ralph Stew is going to be on the Greymane. Apple Eater on the Diablo. Hotaru on the Deckard Cain, and finally, it's going to be the off-lane Rainer, played by Ampere. Captain Roberts just standing back there, probably just doesn't want to interact with the Rainer, doesn't want to just take the free range damage, and just letting the wave come up to the wall and get the soak that way. Meanwhile, down here, we've got someone inside a time trap. It's Punk in his own time trap. A lot of damage going out. Ralph Stew doing a huge amount of damage to Wraithling. Wraithling looking pretty low. I think Wraithling just needs to move back here. Apple Eater now taking a lot of damage from Robert, getting rooted, taking a lot more damage. Robert by himself, though, could be in a lot of trouble, just barely gets out of there alive. Really playing a dangerous game there against Greymane. So especially given this is a Q build Vala, not an AA Vala, which makes sense given the map, but I think a Q build Vala, unless she's specifically hitting her. Oh my god! Good engaged by Apple Eater, just making me completely abandon the sentence I was saying before. Coming through the vent, finding that engage on Wraithling, staying out there a little bit too long with that relatively low health bar. So yeah, now it's time to just take this camp. This camp is more or less free. They've got a Greymane, so they will guaranteed get this camp before a new rat comes back here. Just want to make sure that, oh, they're going in for Chromie. She does have a time trap there. Actually, did I miss it? Did she have a time trap there? Robert going in, actually gets the kill on Diablo. Oh my god, I actually can't believe that just happened. That is crazy. You know, I think the engage on Chromie looked good. I thought that really could have resulted in a kill on Chromie. It's kind of something where I'd kind of like to take a look back at that whole play, see if someone missed an auto that could have resulted in Chromie dying. I also think it's possible that maybe Diablo didn't have to die there. I think once Vala's going in literally by herself, I think the other 3 heroes that aren't Diablo actually just turn on the Vala. So, but it is what it is. 1 for 1 in the end. And and now Punk is up here helping Captain Roberts with this camp, while Robert is going to get started on this camp. Not going to get started yet. He's waiting for someone. He'll start it, and then Chopper will come and help him. Dunning-Kruger Knights will also start on their own Bruiser, so Bruiser's going to be pushing at that time. Meanwhile, the Rainer here, Exterminator Rainer, kind of that's very much as expected. He needs to get that clear. The Immortal's already down. He's afraid to step up. I think now he needs to step up and clear... Well, actually, do they need to get clear? I don't even know what wins between these two camps. Anyway, lots of Immortal damage coming out from TRSG. They actually are ahead in the race, even though I feel that their draft does not win in the race. I even wonder if I'm wrong about that, too. Between Chromie, Artanis, and Vala, how does that compare against Greymane, Rainer, and Li Ming? I still feel like the Greymane, Rainer, Li Ming should be faster, and I think TRSG won the race, kind of just being in position to race before Dunning-Kruger.
The light of the crystal arch shines on.
My concern with Rainer, a couple concerns. He's, to begin with, not a great hero, and of course this is a better map for him. And although a ranged offlaner can do well into a non-ranged offlaner in the lane, I'm a little concerned about how that works in team fights when you just have people getting on them and lower health bars than actually having a bruiser. Alright, big Dragon's Breath's going in. We're going to see Punk once again with the W build Rainer. Meanwhile, it's Ralph Stew with the solo kill against Artanis. That's actually pretty nice, but he's going to have to back, so he's not even getting the soak here or any siege pressure, while TRSG does get a modest amount of pressure, modest amount of value on that keep. About 30-40%. Let's talk about Piercing Light. This is such an interesting talent. This is a talent where I've heard people say it's not even so much about the stacking, it's just about the double root. However, I heard Grubby at one point saying something like, if you only have like 2 or 3 stacks on the talent, it's almost like you didn't pick the talent, because the stack counter actually really is a receipt for whether or not you're even getting value out of the double root. If you're not getting stacks, that also means you're not even hitting double roots. Anyway, huge amount of damage going on to Apple Eater. Soul Shield still going in here. The Soul Shield is expired. Ralph Stew. Oh no, there's no counter to this. And Ralph Stew is just going to go down. Oh yeah. Ancient Blessings is a really good point. Totally forgot about that. Don't know if the Deckard's going to pick that for sure, but that is a really good point. It's actually crazy immortal damage between all of the heroes that they have. Oh no, Apple Eater, does he make it out? Alright, this time I think he does make it out. Robert just chasing down Apple Eater. Just taunting him. I think this whole fort goes down, though. Apple Eater just straight up needs to go back. There is no saving this fort. I don't even like them staying here. Loop is back up in 8 seconds. I really don't want to see either Ralph or Schweik getting dove on by Wraithling or looped by Punk. Yep. So, yeah, it's a bit rough here with the temporal loop up. At this point, I think it's like, if temporal loop is up, then I think basically Dunning-Kruger Knights need to just engage on the Chromie and engage on the team. Alright, both teams just going to be racing. Wraithling out here, trying to interrupt a little bit. The race is actually in favor of TRSG. So, either the race of their draft is comparable, or they're just getting into position faster. So kind of neutral positions here. Both teams with the Immortal on their own sides. This is definitely going to slightly favor TRSG, as they are the ones who are a little bit closer to 10. Except for the fact that, you know, we've got that poke coming in from Schweik. Punk not as in... Punk can also do the same thing, but he's just not positioned up as closely now. Now he's going to be moving in, almost there, but walks straight into some Li Ming stuff. Li Ming is going to get hit by the loop, but the follow-up damage isn't there to complete the kill. She was really just like right in the middle of the Immortal. Ooh, but that is level 10 talent tier advantage in favor of TRSG. Wraithling goes in with the Light Bomb. No kills yet. Apple Eater's here all by himself. And although it didn't result in a kill, it did result in the Immortal being taken in favor of TRSG. So, overall, it's a more even game than last, at least right now. Ooh, I actually don't like... that. Yeah, I was about to... I don't like Dunning-Kruger Knights being that far out in the lane. I think just... Oh no. Is there a Lightning Breath? No, he went APOC. So he is just going to return there, because that Lightning Breath would also be a way to... Oh! 5 men... But APOC! Where's the APOC? Where's the APOC? What happened to it? Oh, it must have been used earlier. Yeah, I'm not even... I'm so trolling hard. Anyway... Yeah, because APOC is a 100-second cooldown. No, it's a 90-second cooldown. So it was probably just used earlier than that. And actually, we're going to see Artanis go down here. That being said, I don't think Dunning-Kruger Knights can stay out here much longer. They don't have a healer. Oh my god. Ralph Stew going in. Does not complete the kill. He dies for that. Yeah, I mean, that's tough. That's tempting. It is tempting to go for 6 solo plays on Greymane, and Go for the Throat really enables you to do that, especially against a naturally squishy hero like Vala. In many situations, that is a thing that can work out well. Unfortunately, there It just wasn't enough to secure the kill, and then he was just too committed and too far in there. Vala is showing bottom, so the Dunning-Kruger Knights can... Well, it could be a 4... They don't know... Okay, now both... Well, Vala and Chromie are bottom, and now they are both showing, so they can just take this top camp for free. They already were taking it, even before there was absolute confirmation. However, this does also mean that Vala and Chromie will actually just finish this. I do think Greymane could actually be a little bit more aggressive here. I was almost about to say something a little bit silly, but anyway. Yeah, ultimately not quite a winning trade for Dunning-Kruger Knights. One would even say that it was a losing trade, as the siege camp could just be cleared out while the... that fort's not coming back. Anyway, Immortals will be spawning in a couple seconds. Apple Eater is here all by himself. Okay, so the camp is still up. There's actually a huge wave that that TRSG needs to defend, although there's also the one that Dunning-Kruger Knights will eventually need to defend. In the meantime, though, they're actually just defending. They don't have any... Oh no, Ralph Eater is... Ralph Stew is already in there, all in there, all the way in there, all the words, and it's actually going to be Artanis, the one who's dying first. It's all right. Ralph Stew apparently getting a reset. I believe that was his second. Go for the throat. This is really good for Dunning-Kruger Knights. This is the best. This is actually the best things have looked all series for them. They have a kill, they can burn the Immortal, they've got the advantage, they'll get here to defend this in a reasonable amount of time. Unless... Oh no, I spoke too soon. Alright, it's actually not that bad because of the fact that that was Souls, so Diablo does respawn immediately, and we do have the lead on the Immortal race in favor of the Dunning-Kruger Knights. We're just going to start racing here. And do they just win? This will really tell it. Oh my god. They do not have better Immortal race. They don't. And it's not Ancient Blessings. That's also that could have made the difference. Having Ancient Blessings could have made the difference there. Of course, you know, it's a lot more healing when you go the Super Healing Potion. But that really just answered the question unequivocally of which team has the better race. Because those two teams did not interact with each other. They just straight up raced. And the health bar on the Immortal was actually lower for Dunning-Kruger Knights. And it did end up working out in their favor. Schweik taking huge damage there. Alright, from that Chromie. Oh no, I don't think Imperial gets out of it. Oh, just kidding, he's Raynor. He's a tough boy. He does get the adrenaline rush, gets a little bit of healing. Did he go... He did also go fight or flight. And it's actually going to be Captain Roberts going down first, so... I'm kind of seeing a common theme here, which is... Artanis keeps dying whatever team he's on. The hero is a problem. Yeah, and I actually like this aggressive positioning by Apple Eater. I just want his team to be with him more. I even kind of like Raynor going with them. They've got a lot of choices here. They can take this camp. They can kind of just push. Probably maybe take the camp, like put Raynor on the camp. And have the rest of them like kind of posture on it or something. All right, they'll just all take the camp. Artanis going to be up in a couple seconds. Oh no. There is no answer to that. There is no answer. I mean, it's tough because... he just wants to anchor in that bush. Diablo just wants to anchor in that bush, but... Oh, alright. The Light Bomb Burrow Charge is going to catch Raynor. I think this time, yeah. That time it's too much for Raynor. But Ralph Stew, looking to make plays, does manage to trade out the kill. The question now is, how does he get out? And he is able... Yeah, he's actually got a lot of escapability here between On the Prowl and Eyes in the Dark. So he's got a lot of movement speed, and then when he does disengage, he will be untargetable. Meanwhile, Captain Roberts is going to pick up the Bruiser camp, and both teams should have their full team around the time that they're going to be forced to race the Immortal. Dunning-Kruger Knights do have to clear. Ideally, they don't get caught before clearing. Greymane is moving up, kind of away from the rest of the team. Now they're back together again. So set up in a defensive position, and it does look like at this point, it does look like Dunning-Kruger Knights have to fight. It doesn't seem like they win the race. Diablo just getting burned down, but the first kill is going to go onto a new Barak. Ralph Stew is actually kind of going off in this game here. He's doing a lot on that Greymane, gets another kill there. So Ralph Stew just like carrying this game at this moment. Does also go back to clear. I guess he probably is the best clear, probably a little bit better than Raynor. Oh no, but this TRSG is taking this moment to engage. Robert is pretty low. Oh no, Hotaru. Can Hotaru get out of there? Oh no, it's actually Ampere who goes down. Greymane finally does finish clearing, so maybe they can... Oh no. This is actually looking really rough now. Suddenly Dunning-Kruger Knights is going to be in a 4v5. They get halftime. I actually don't know if it was worth it there for them to get halftime. Oh, actually, this does help, because now the Immortal will be just put in neutral positions, or put in home positions, natural positions, whatever you want to call it, and they can kind of play safe around the Immortal. Oh no, but Schweik gets stunned, and now he also gets looped, and he's just not going to be able to save that loop. The story of this series is temporal loop. Huge stun, but Wraithling's also going to go down there. It's going to be traded out for Apple as well, so tank for tank, but ultimately the kills are going in favor of TRSG, and with that, there were some signs of life from Dunning-Kruger Knights, but this is starting to look like the nail in the coffin. They're going to have a nice Immortal push moving ahead. They're going to have a point where, not on this push, but probably around the time the next Immortal phase, if there is a next Immortal phase, where they will have 20 talent tier advantage, most likely. Even managed to steal that camp, so this is looking really, really strong for TRSG. Certainly a stronger game here from Dunning-Kruger, but TRSG starting to pull away in this game too. Oh yeah, this is rough. I mean, at this point, Dunning-Kruger just has to do everything they can. Oh no, Schweik once again is going to get hit by Temporal Loop, and there's no way he's going to make it out. I think Apple Eater goes down here too. Just kidding. Instead, Ralph Stew is going to trade out the kill. Ralph Stew has been absolutely phenomenal in this game. I don't know if it's going to be enough to pull it through, but he certainly is doing really, really well here. Ralph Stew, the captain of the team. Oh, Ampere and Hotaru in a little bit of trouble. Ralph Stew, of course, turning on that Immortal because he needs to. The APOC is going to go out, but it's not going to save Hotaru. Hotaru even throwing out the stay a while, and Ralph Stew still looking to go in. He's got no health. But of course, he's in a position where it's kind of do or die for them. I think Ralph Stew still has to look to see if he can get health. Let Ampere tank a little bit. Let Apple Eater tank a little bit. And I think ideally, I didn't even like them going so aggressive. I think I really wanted to see them just kind of stay around the core. And I know the core is in a position where it's losing health. And it's probably going to take more damage even on a successful defense. At least now it does look like they are finally pushing them out. But they can't push out too far because of that. Yeah, I really wanted to see them just stay on the core. The core helps with the defense, makes it harder for TRSG to commit. And at this point, and again, of course, you know, if you lose the core, you lose the game. But all right, Hotaru's finally back up. Core is down to 45%, but also with the temporal, oh no. Spike just gonna get bursted down by Chromie. And there's yet another temporal loop. The story of this game, the story of this series. Yeah, I think they just all in on the core at this point. Robert's still healthy. Just, yeah, that's it. No 20 for Dunning-Kruger Knights. A valiant effort in that game 2 for Dunning-Kruger Knights. A lot stronger showing there in game 2 than in game 1, especially by Ralph Stew. Ralph Stew was pretty incredible there. Ralph Stew was playing like he wanted to win that game. So yeah. So TRSG winning in the end, it does kind of make sense as they are the experienced team. They've been in NGS for many seasons and many of the past seasons. Their roster has changed up quite a bit. But their current roster is still an in-practice roster, even if it's not the same one as the roster that they've had a couple seasons ago. We'll take a look and see if maybe we can get someone in here for an interview, possibly Robert. He's the team captain, so he is who I would expect. But it's also possible we could have someone else, or even the entire team. That has been known to happen on some occasions. That means I need to get into a lobby myself. So, thank you for being here with me tonight, everybody who is here, whoever that is, however many that is. I actually don't even know because I don't have the counters. I don't have the viewer count showing in my OBS, and I don't even know if there's a way to do that. There maybe is. I don't have a window. I don't have like a web browser open. I just have OBS open, and I can see how many people are in the chat. And I've got Robert in here with me. Can't hear him yet, but
Hey, what's up?
There we go. Good to have you. Good to have you.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. Thanks for casting again. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, how you feeling after your first series of NGS season 16?
Pretty good. It's only downhill from here, but pretty good. So excited. Our div is pretty stacked, so I'll just take it one game at a time for sure. Super excited. We won't. We'll definitely celebrate tonight. Well, actually, everyone has celebrated by going to bed already. So that's
really?
Where we're at. Yeah.
That's a shame.
Pretty much.
I feel like
I know.
In my opinion, the ideal celebration is you play some ARAM. I'm a big proponent. Anyway, I'm getting off topic.
Agreed.
Good.
I mean, we could celebrate together.
I'm so happy. I'm glad to have a fellow ARAM lover because I just cast a team that's called ARAM and they said they don't even play ARAM. I was super disappointed.
Oh, yeah, it's like bait and switch there.
Yeah, exactly.
Did they win? Did they win at least? Or?
They did. They crushed it.
Okay.
They did great.
All right, cool.
But let's get a little bit more back on topic. So I know we kind of, if anything, almost had like an interview before the game because we were talking in the lobby, but we weren't live at that time. So can you just tell me, and by extension the stream, a little bit about your team?
Oh yeah, sure. We've been playing for a little bit. I mean, I don't know. Like, we've been playing for a while. Like, if you're still playing NGS or somehow new, then awesome, welcome to the family. But yeah, we started Heroes Lounge actually, and I don't remember what season it was for NGS, like maybe season 6, 7 when we came over. So we kept the name. Like, I think I'm actually one of the original people that is still playing. I think all the original members, like we were talking about before,
right,
their life stuff, whether it's school or kids or whatever, want to stay in their marriages, things important.
Wants to stay in their marriages. What a way to phrase it. Yep, very nice.
I know, right?
Very nice. Yeah.
But
I don't have one of those to stay in, so it's not a problem for me. I can play HOTS all day and night. Well, I would have a job at some point, but yeah.
Living the dream, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've talked a little bit about roster changes. I would even say we talked a little bit about that. But so one of the things I noticed to me is it looks like you kind of absorbed some of Bloodbath and Beyond, and I think they've had some other names too. But how did that happen?
We did. Well, it was interesting. Like, we were like last season we were both in Div B. Obviously we're in C now, but yeah. So, but there's more. I think there was a division at the top, and they got rid of that this year. So I think everyone just got pushed down.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, they were they didn't do as well last year, and I think they had some problems with just participation in general to get some continuity. And we had some people that we played with, and it was just kind of like for a season because we're kind of in a transitionary period from our regular members, so just trying to find a good group of people that I mesh with. And we got the Chopper was from last year from our team. This is the second season with us, and then I reached out to Punk, and he was like, yeah, we're looking to do a new thing here, and then we just kind of talked about it. And I think we after negotiations and stuff, here we are.
Nice. Now that you mentioned about them being in Div B the last season, I just remembered that I was there too. And
nice.
I didn't play in the match where CCS played you, but I did actually play against Punk's team at that time, and they struggled that season. So
They did. I think they just didn't have any consistent roles. It was tough. I think it
Yeah.
was more just like trying not to like forfeit is kind of what they were doing
Yeah.
for the most part. It was rough. But
well, they
we
come to
got
you
more-
and you get victories so far.
yeah,
at least.
yeah, no, right, so far. One game. We'll talk next week. We'll see. But no, super excited to play with them. A good group of guys. And no one's ever played with them before, but they've been around a lot longer than I have. So, yeah, a lot of good people for sure. Good peeps.
All right. Well, so kind of leading into that, we talked about how are you feeling about the season ahead of you? What teams are you thinking could be challenges? Is that most of them? But what are your expectations for this season moving forward?
Yeah, I mean it's going to be tough. I think I don't know how much of a predictor like Heroes profile is, but we were ranked like 11 out of 12 and we played 12 tonight, so I don't know what that means, but maybe this might be the only win, hopefully not, knock on wood, but I mean, I know that CCS got dropped down, they're a strong team. GG Gaming got dropped down, they're a good team. Roll One, I mean, those are some familiar names.
Yeah, all teams that were in Div B West last season.
Yeah, so we couldn't get away from. I was excited. I was like, great, we got dropped down to Div C. Like maybe we have a shot. It's like, no, just kidding. We don't have a shot. It's just take it one game, 1 week at a time. So I think we might surprise some teams, but we're definitely going to be the underdogs. I feel anyway, as far as the rankings. But
and I just want to do a quick pause because I had a message in chat from Ralph Stew, one of your opponents, and he thanked for the cast, but I also want to say like his Greymane in that last game was sick. As much as the series overall was tough, like how did you guys feel about that Greymane in that last game?
It was good. He was going in with kills. I mean, from what I saw, he was probably the one that's been playing the most consistently, definitely the highest ranked, and his play like definitely showed that. It'll kind of be interesting to see how they progress through the season. I was telling our group like they might be one of those teams where they actually get their bearings later in the season, so I'm glad we're not playing them then. So I mean, if they haven't really practiced a ton together, and they definitely duked it out on game 2, I think they were getting their groove. So yeah, it was tough to play around with. I mean, I still have the numbers up. He was definitely like outperforming on his team, and I don't know what their comms are like, but I think once they kind of get on track with that, they're going to start surprising some teams for sure.
Yeah, I mean, seems like for both teams it's kind of about developing as the season goes along, so we'll see how that goes. We'll see if maybe I'm along for the ride at any point casting again. I kind of plan to cast a little bit more.
Well, it's good to see you. I love your cast, man. They're always fun.
Thanks, I appreciate it. The compliments do mean a lot to me. And,
of course. Well, then I'm gonna compliment you profusely. You are like one of the best casters that I have not seen in a long time.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's something I think I do plan to do a little bit more this season. Kind of balancing it out with some other things, both some real life things as well as actually playing on a team. But I'm kind of running out of things, so I think we'll just get to the point of. Do you have any shout outs that you would like to give before we close this out?
Well, of course, yeah. Shout out to you, King Andrew. Thanks again for casting, and I've told you already, but really do appreciate it. Shout out to the other team. I don't even know how to say their name correctly. It's like
I think Dunning-Kruger.
Dunning-Kruger Knights. Shout out to you guys. It sounds like you haven't been in NGS for a while, so welcome back. Welcome to the family. Hopefully just learn from every single match, every single game, and just keep plugging away. You guys are going to be pretty dangerous late in the season. Again, I'm very happy I'm not playing yet later. Also, shout out to the fam. We got some new guys representing. Just a lot of people rooting for us, but just appreciate everyone that came out and just cheered us on, and just thanks for NGS for existing. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, with all that said, we're going to close it out. Hey, do you actually want to play some Abraham?
Yeah, man.
All right, so I just got to close out my stream, so give me a couple minutes.
All right, sounds good.
I'll say goodbye to you for now, just in the Discord lobby, and I'll.
All right, sounds good.
Message you in games. All right,
sounds
see
good.
you in a bit. All right, guys. Hope you guys had a good time tonight with these NGS matches. Yeah, that's it. So, quick little bit about me. Let's look at the camera for this. I'm King Andrew, Heroes of the Storm caster, NGS caster, Heroes of the Storm player, ARAM enthusiast, ARAM warrior. voice actor, former school teacher, wear many hats, and it was good to have you with me tonight for 2 NGS matches. They won't be the last, but we are done for tonight. Have a good night.